The CBC's Paul Hunter watching it happen right down the street from him. He's in that lockdown area in the Boston suburb of Watertown. It's the focal point of the manhunt. He's on the ground there. He joins me live. Paul.
Johanna, I now know why the police were so insistent and forceful in pushing us back. What we've heard on the police talkback radio here is that what he has said to them is that he will blow himself up. And so that we can deduce is what he must have uttered when we were closing in, when the snipers went down on their knees, which I presume they still are. I can almost see them. But that would suggest that he, like his brother, as was reported, that his brother was wearing an explosive vest, that he would have one on as well. So consider that as you look at those pictures of this, that is what he has threatened to do, and that would be the starting point for their negotiations with him as we speak.
How far are you back from that? Because I'm assuming police have a certain radius in mind for safety.
You're right, and it's, journalistic instincts is to get as close as you can, and indeed that's what we did immediately. We were breathing the same air as those snipers, shoulder to shoulder with them, when they pushed us back, and although there was a modicum of resistance, they pushed hard and fast, and as I say, now we know why. We're about a half a kilometer. It's hard to say because I can see the back of the flashing lights, but I don't know so many vehicles poured in there after that initial discovery. It's hard to say how thick it is. But we are, I'm going to say, safe enough in the eyes of the police at a safe enough distance for whatever may follow at this point.
I was just speaking with a former chief of domestic terrorism with the FBI, Paul, and he said all of this could come down to one conversation between a negotiator and the young man who we assume right now is inside threatening to blow himself up. Has there been any sign of, negotiator vehicle or police leaving that area and leaving it down to a conversation? No,
it's so hard to tell, right, because the pure volume of vehicles is incredible. The types of vehicles, I mean, there are the cars that look like any other car, and there are the cars that are marked, and there are the trucks that are like you've never seen before. Like, what goes in there? There are all kinds of vehicles down there. They were asking for a translator earlier, so obviously at some point they realized that perhaps the ethnicity of where these people came from, and they tried to get somebody in. You're right, it would come down to one sentence. We've seen one conversation, one point in a conversation. Funny, too, that their first move was not to open fire, obviously. That they want to take this guy alive, and everything they're going to, even though he's threatening to blow himself up, according to what we heard on the police scanner, their intent, of course, would be to ensure that that doesn't happen with the perfect conversation that has to ensue at this point.
Paul, we saw a red car being searched, and it looked like somebody was, trying to open the vehicle and get into it to check it out. Any of that around where you are?
No, we are. There is a good gap. Let me find a way to measure it. I'm going to say it's like a football field between us, of pure sort of cleared asphalt Arsenal roadway here, the name of the road. And at the far, I cannot see if they're searching a vehicle, to be honest.
Okay.
I know that my cameraman said just before we were pushed away, we're trying to get these pictures to you, and if we can, we will. But he thought he saw somebody at the pointy end of the gun, with a gun aimed at the guy. I can't say if that's exactly what it was or not, because they said to us, the first warning when they realized what they had, and this may well have been when he said, I will blow myself up, because their demeanor changed and everybody turned to us and they said, duck and cover.
Right.
And we had to go down on the ground, right? And then it's like I guess they thought the initial threat was passed, then they said, get up and run. And so we did.
Well, I'm glad you're at a safe distance right now. I do want to ask you if people are obeying that lockdown, because, you look out your window, wherever you may be in that neighborhood, and you think, I wonder what's going on. I want to be part of this. It's human curiosity. But I'm assuming it's only media personnel and police out on the streets that people are obeying that lockdown.
Yeah, we've seen like 3 people walking since we've been here. We drove in just as the sun was coming up. and we came in the back way. That's how we got in so close to where it was all going down. And it's a pretty little suburb. Streets were empty, like not a car moving, not a soul. No, it was like the place had emptied. But of course, what we know is that everybody was told to stay in your basements because they didn't know where the guy was. Since then, 3 people, and those were the people that we interviewed who said that the cars on the street where the siege was earlier here come some cars now, were just covered in bullet holes. So everybody else is either still in their basements or they've been taken out the back side of this neighborhood, or they were bussed out. We saw people in buses. I guess they brought them out. They put them in buses, and the buses sped away. We saw a lot of that throughout the day. But right where it is now, there are no houses, as far as I can see. There's an industrial building across the road. These are like muffler shops and things like that, which is where the guy is right now. I can't see closer to where Susan and David are down toward the mall. I can't see what the kind of structures are in there, but I don't think this is residential. So even though they've still got the yellow police tape around the area where it was earlier, I suspect that most of the people who are in those other houses have been taken out to safety by police.
One of the things I found really interesting in what you said is how the police demeanor changed when they may have heard, this person say that he will blow himself up. All of a sudden, it would, the adrenaline would go. Your voice would probably get a little bit sterner. Your directions would be succinct and clear, so there's no room for any kind of discrepancy in what you're saying.
It was serious. And the funny thing is, a lot of these situations that you find yourself in these jobs, the police are pretty careful to keep you at bay. They got a job to do, and they don't want you getting in their way, so they tend to regularly push you back. There was none of that this time, right? Because they were going the same direction as we were. It was as if, it's not like they didn't care we were getting in so close. It was like they didn't notice because they were so laser focused on this guy or this tip that they had or whatever it was that told them to run down there. They did. And then, as soon as we can deductively say he said that, I will blow myself up, that's when it turned. And I'm telling you, you were not gonna resist. It's like they even said, "Please turn around and run, please." It's like for your own good, and we all felt it. And I'm I'm happy to say I turned and ran because we know what these guys are about. We didn't know at the time that he threatened to blow himself up, but with that kind of tone, when it changed, just like that, boom, run, go, don't stop, go, more, further, and we all did.
And Paul, there's got to be added pressure on all those tactical units and police forces because the world is watching. Canadians are watching right here on CBC News Network. They're watching you.
Hang on. Bear with me. What's going on? The snipers have been pulled from the roof. Why do we... The buzz here, Susanna, sorry for that.
No problem.
Is they seem to think maybe they have somebody. There was a little, you talk about tone, there was a couple of cars pulled out.
Paul, I'm going to we're getting a line with a police officer giving us a live update, and we're going to go to that right now so our viewers can get the latest. Here it is live.
The staging area is in the Arsenal Mall parking lot.
And is that for the entire festival?
Yes, it is. Okay, thank you. I'm going to turn this back off. Wait, down here? No.
Ma'am, get back.
All right, you know what? Nothing came of that. I wish we hadn't left Paul Hunter, but is he still around? Because I'd love to talk to him about what's happening there at that community.
I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Paul, I've got you at Suhana. I didn't hear anything from that police news conference, but where you are seems to be where the excitement is.
Yeah, well, here's a word of warning. Never listen to rumor and buzz when there's a bunch of journalists around. But the rumor and buzz here is that they've got him. I hesitate to say that, but the snipers on the building that I've been talking about all morning, they have left. They have pulled back. That's the first time I've seen them disappear from that spot. There's been a few vehicles kind of slowly coming out our way. I see now other cars. I'm just looking toward the area where the muffler shop is, kind of just reverse lights coming on. Like the intensity level is dropping, and the buzz here, and I don't know if it's from somebody, I've not been listening to the police scan in the last 5 minutes, is that they've got the guy. If you can bear with me, just let me ask my cameraman Joe Fiorno, who's there. Joe, have you heard anything else? Nothing. No. So I can't really
Paul,
update you, Susanna, but that's what I know.
Can we follow you around? Can we have this, natural sound as you try to figure out what's going on?
Whoops, sorry, I'm being pushed back again. Sorry, say that again, Susanna?
We're just going to stay with you to see if you can find out what is going on. I mean, you haven't heard any shots fired. There may have been negotiations, but right now it seems like people are being pulled back.
That's what it looks like, isn't it? And again, back to that word tone, it has changed a little bit. The helicopter's still hovering. Police are still keeping us where we are. I'm not going to say they would immediately let us back in if they got the guy. But look, here's another vehicle. I'm down the other end. I don't think you can see this, but another car pulling out. This was the feeling we had earlier today, right? Like all morning. Sorry, I'm a bit winded again because I had to run fast. All morning, all we saw was vehicle after vehicle of soldiers and SWAT teams and police from all the districts in the area come in, just filling up the area. And then the tone changed, and they all kind of pulled out, right? And the same thing seems to be happening now. So considering it was either a mistaken identity or it's the guy, and I'm going to say that they've done
all
something,
right.
whether he...
Paul?
There's been no sound. There's been no bullet sound. There's been no explosive sound. So if it's over, that would suggest that he has somehow surrendered to him, but
Paul,
I can't say that.
We don't have it. Yeah, absolutely. And we can't say that because we don't have any confirmation of that yet. We'll continue to dig into this and see, watch the story as it unfolds. Right now, we know police vehicles are still there. Right. That area is still cordoned off, and we'll watch to see what happens in the minutes ahead. That's Paul Hunter on the story, live on the ground in that Watertown industrial sort of portion of that neighborhood in Boston.